Another late evening draws in Holmes. But there's a particular comfort, isn't there, sitting here by the fire in these familiar rooms. The fog outside seems a world away. It brings to mind certain evenings long past, which reminds me the Strand has just published my account of that rather singular affair from '96, the one I've titled The Adventure of the Whispering Cylinder.
Ah, the Whispering Cylinder. Yes, Watson, a case indeed. Singular, as you say. A remarkable confluence of the modern age's mechanical ingenuity and, as it transpired, its capacity for unprecedented peril. The sheer audacity of it still commands a certain, reluctant admiration.
Reluctant, indeed. It was a baffling puzzle, certainly. One felt caught between the marvels of the coming century and something altogether darker lurking just beneath the surface. Recalling the details for the narrative brought it all back quite vividly after all these years.
The interplay was unique, a mechanism designed for efficiency, for progress, twisted into an instrument of considerable complexity. A challenge worthy of documentation, certainly. Though I trust your account captured the nuances without sacrificing the essential facts.
I endeavored to, Holmes, as always, to capture not just the facts, but the atmosphere of the time, that sense of wonder tinged with a certain unease about where all these new inventions were leading us. Thinking back, Holmes, the initial scene at Whitehall remains remarkably vivid. That records room, utterly sealed, wasn't it? Like a strongbox, and yet inside.
Precisely, Watson, hermetically sealed. No conventional means of entry or exit apparent. The crux of the initial problem rested entirely upon that network of pneumatic tubes, the sole artery connecting the room to the outside world.
Extraordinary system for its time, the pneumatic post. I recall the sheer marvel of it back in '96, sending documents whizzing beneath the streets of London faster than a hansom cab could blink, as they used to say. It felt like the very pulse of the modern age.
A symbol of progress, undoubtedly. The era was intoxicated with such advancements. Young Marconi was capturing imaginations with his wireless experiments, promising communication across vast distances without physical connection. Yet beneath the excitement, there lurked a certain unease, did there not? A sense that these powerful, unseen forces might harbor unforeseen dangers.
Indeed, a tension between wonder and apprehension. One saw it in the papers, heard it discussed in the clubs. This relentless march of invention, where might it lead?
And that, Watson, presented the core analytical challenge. Here was a crime seemingly impossible by conventional standards, yet apparently facilitated, even enabled by the very technology designed to enhance efficiency and security. Progress itself twisted into a tool for malefaction. It required one to think not merely of locks and keys, but of pressures, vacuums, and the ingenious exploitation of a system.
It certainly demanded a different kind of thinking. It brings to mind men like Professor Fleming, consumed by that very spirit of invention, constantly pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible within government service. A brilliant mind, though driven.
Driven indeed, and it is often at the intersection of such driven minds and the tools they create that the most perplexing and dangerous puzzles arise. The pneumatic tube, a marvel of engineering, became the conduit for a mystery that defied immediate explanation.
And joining us by the fire this evening, to shed further light on the perplexing matter of the Whispering Cylinder, is the very officer who led the initial Scotland Yard investigation. Inspector Evelyn Hardcastle. It's a distinct pleasure to welcome you back to Baker Street after all these years.
Thank you, Dr. Watson, Mr. Holmes. The pleasure is mine, though revisiting the details of that particular case still sends a slight shiver down the spine. Whitehall in '96, quite the pressure cooker.
Indeed, Inspector. A unique crucible where the gears of state ground against the wheels of shall we say, unforeseen innovation. Your initial assessment upon reaching the scene must have been rather challenging.
Challenging is an understatement, Mr. Holmes. a senior clerk deceased within a room sealed tighter than a drum, accessible only by that infernal pneumatic system. The technical complexity alone was bewildering. Documents whizzing about in brass tubes, it felt more like something from Mr. Wells than Scotland Yard territory. And the bureaucracy, layers upon layers. Every question required navigating a labyrinth of protocol.
Whitehall has always been a world unto itself, I imagine. The weight of officialdom must have been immense.
Immense and occasionally blinkered. I recall one instance quite vividly. We were examining the tube terminus near the victim's office, a rather intricate mechanism. Lord Whitehall himself descended, naturally keen to understand the potential security flaws. He directed all his technical questions, quite pointedly, to the young constable standing beside me, despite my being the lead investigator.
Oh, the predictable currents of assumption. How did you navigate that, Inspector?
With professional courtesy, of course, but firmness. I waited for a pause, then addressed his lordship directly, clarifying the specific valve mechanism he was misinterpreting and outlining our lines of inquiry. I believe I said something to the effect of, "My lord, while Constable Davies is most capable, the assessment of the system's vulnerabilities falls under my direct purview. Perhaps I can clarify the pressure differentials for you." He was momentarily taken aback, but to his credit, redirected his queries thereafter.
A delicate situation, handled with admirable tact.
It was merely one small instance, Doctor, but indicative, perhaps, of the additional layers one navigated. Ensuring one's observations were given due weight required a certain clarity of purpose, especially when dealing with matters both highly technical and highly sensitive within those hallowed traditional halls. The technology was new, but the attitudes in some quarters were decidedly not.
Indeed, Inspector. Navigating those corridors of power required a steady hand. But beyond the bureaucracy and the marvelous, dangerous technology, there lay the human heart of the matter, didn't there? The motivations driving such a desperate act.
Precisely, Dr. Whitehall, for all its polished brass and officialdom, was a cauldron of ambitions and anxieties. One sensed it constantly. Fear of obsolescence, perhaps, with Fleming's innovations moving so rapidly. Or the lure of other opportunities. Espionage was certainly a word whispered in the quieter corners even then. Individuals like young Croft, eager but perhaps overwhelmed, or the more established figures like Thorne, carrying immense responsibility, the pressure was palpable.
And that, Watson, is the eternal constant. The pneumatic tubes, the sealed chambers, mere stagecraft. Ingenious, certainly, but secondary. The core remains the same, understanding the frailties and desires that drive men and women to act. Ambition curdling into ruthlessness, fear driving desperate measures, the siren call of secrets sold to the highest bidder. The machine is complex, yes, but the human operator is where the true enigma resides.
You always maintained that, Holmes. Even amidst the whirring gears and hissing pipes, you looked for the tremor in the hand, the flicker in the eye. Were the internal politics particularly fraught during that period, Inspector? You mentioned suspicions.
There were certainly currents, rivalries between departments, whispers about who might benefit from certain advancements or who might fear them. One learned to observe the subtle shifts, the alliances forming and dissolving. It wasn't merely about the technology, it was about the power dynamics surrounding it. Trust was a rare commodity.
And how perilously close they came. The entire affair balanced on a knife's edge. A moment's hesitation, a slight miscalculation, and the outcome could have been entirely different, the true mechanism remaining forever obscured. It serves as a chilling reminder, does it not? We marvel at these new engines of progress, the wireless, the flying machine, the tubes beneath our feet. Yet each innovation carries within it the seed of its own corruption. The ingenuity that builds can just as readily be turned to darker purposes. One wonders, what unforeseen shadows will the next marvel cast?
A sobering thought, Holmes. A truly sobering thought. The potential for misuse. It never truly fades, does it? And so, another evening draws to a close by our Baker Street fire. Reflecting on the whispering cylinder case brings back such vivid memories, doesn't it, Holmes? The sheer ingenuity of the pneumatic system, a symbol of London's relentless march forward, yet simultaneously a tool for darkness. It truly encapsulated those anxieties of the age. the tension between wondrous invention and the potential for unseen threats, the clash between bureaucratic procedure and the need for swift action, and ultimately, the timeless truth of human fallibility lurking beneath the surface of progress. Our thanks again to Inspector Hardcastle for illuminating the official perspective with such clarity.
Clarity, Watson, is often obscured by the very mechanisms designed to enhance it. The faster the message travels, the less time for scrutiny. Progress accelerates opportunity, both for creation and for destruction. Vigilance must therefore quicken its pace accordingly, lest innovation outstrip our capacity to control its consequences.
A vital reminder, Holmes. Always the vital reminder. And with that thought, we bid you farewell from our familiar sanctuary. Until our next fireside chronicle, perhaps one concerning a rather singular disappearance on the Salisbury plain, this is Dr. John Watson, wishing you good night.